Coming at you from Detroit's University District, this is your Daily Detroit, recorded on Monday, February 4th, 2019. I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Sven Gustafson. Today, white-collar layoffs begin at GM. Governor Whitmer makes her first big reorganizing of state government. Detroit Restaurant Week is coming, and the buzz about that golden ring in Sterling Heights. That and more right after this.
Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by Bamboo Detroit. With an inclusive community, flexible modern offices, classes, and networking events, Bamboo Detroit helps entrepreneurs and innovative companies launch, land, or expand in Detroit. Become one of their more than 400 members today at bamboodetroit.com. And by the way, Sven, we are a member too.
Yes, indeed we are, Jer.
Pink slips are going out to 4,000 General Motors white-collar workers starting today and lasting over the next couple of weeks. When complete, the layoffs will mean that GM will have cut 14,000 workers in the United States and Canada. This is all part of a plan to save $2.5 billion this year and $6 billion by 2020. The company's realigning its vehicle lineup towards SUVs, electric vehicles, and autonomous vehicles. We spent a whole episode breaking down an earlier announcement that targeted hourly blue-collar workers, and we'll have a link to that in the show notes. But to recap, GM is getting rid of 6 passenger cars, including the plug-in hybrid Chevy Volt, the Cadillac CT6, and the Buick LaCrosse. GM says it's offering outplacement services for affected employees as part of severance packages that also offer up to 6 months' worth of both pay and health insurance coverage.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer has signed 3 measures aimed at strengthening drinking water and other environmental protections and beefing up Michigan's efforts to fight climate change. One also shakes up the state's primary environmental department. One of the executive orders restructures the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, renames it the Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. That means the DEQ becomes EGLE, which everyone will probably refer to as either Eagle or Eggle, not quite sure yet. The order also creates new offices within the department, including the Office of the Clean Water Public Advocate, and it incorporates other offices that were previously housed in other parts of state government. Whitmer says the moves address the public's fears in the wake of the Flint water crisis and widespread PFAS contamination. A second executive order she signed gives new responsibilities to the Michigan PFAS Action Response Team that was created by former Governor Rick Snyder. It also makes that action team permanent. The restructuring of the environmental department allows for the creation of new scientific advisory boards, but it does away with commissions established by Snyder and Republicans that included business and industry leaders. Whitmer says those commissions created more bureaucracy and says businesses will continue to have input on rulemaking in the state. The GOP-controlled legislature could challenge that move. Whitmer also signed an executive directive that enters Michigan into the U.S. Climate Alliance, a bipartisan coalition of governors from 19 states that have committed to lowering greenhouse gas emissions.
An update to a story we brought you recently about Detroit's residential, commercial, and industrial property being reassessed. The city found that Detroit's property values went up in 90% of the city's neighborhoods. But here's what you need to know. Due to a delay in delivery of the notices by mail, the date for appealing the new assessments has been extended by little more than a week to February 23rd. The city doesn't say what the reason for the delay was exactly, but mail was shut down for a couple days around here last week due to the polar vortex.
Detroit Restaurant Week returns later this month. It starts this year on Friday, February 22nd, and runs through Sunday, March 3rd. This year's Restaurant Week has 26 participating restaurants, including El Barzon, Grey Ghost Detroit, Lumen Detroit, Roast, and La Feria Spanish Tapas. The 10-day event gives diners a chance to dine at some of Detroit's nicer restaurants for a fixed price. Each restaurant has created a 3-course meal that'll run you either $29 or $39 per person, depending on where you go. Reservations are suggested in advance. We'll have a link to Detroit Restaurant Week's website in the show notes.
You know, I get excited about this one because it makes these places a little bit more affordable. Going out to some of these nicer places downtown, that can set you back easily $150-$200 nowadays. Like it's a event out to go to a lot of these restaurants. So
For sure.
So $39 a person is pretty good. And I have a couple of favorites that I want to point out specifically, and it doesn't get the press that others do, but it's been around forever. I love Cuisine.
Yeah, up in the New Center.
Yeah, right there. It's a great place to go like before a show or something like that, but it's in an old house. It's super cool.
It's like classic French cooking, right?
Yeah, and there isn't that much classic French in this town.
No, there's really not.
So that place always gets me excited. Grey Ghost does a great job. And I think I might use this as an opportunity to finally check out Lumen. I haven't been able to bring myself to get to that fancy corner of downtown yet outside of Beacon Park. So I'm looking forward to that. Sven, I know one of your favorites is on this list.
Yeah, La Feria is, you can't miss that place. I mean, I'll probably take the opportunity to go check something else out, but definitely if you haven't been there, check out La Feria. Also, El Barzón. I've had many fantastic dinners there, including a couple birthday dinners. That's a good spot for sure.
One of our most read stories on the site a while back was the news of Shake Shack opening, both in downtown Detroit and suburban Troy. So figured we'd circle back on them. Shake Shack is apparently rolling out something called chicken bites. They have decided to eliminate the E for some sort of apostrophe. They're cooked with the sous vide method with the goal of keeping them juicy and tender. At least that's according to their press materials. You can buy them a half dozen or 10 at a time. And I just got to ask this question. I don't know if you've ever been to Shake Shack, Sven.
Nope, not really a burger guy. Sorry.
Well, see, to me, this is kind of like I only go to Arby's when I want one of their like roast beef sandwiches. I think of Shake Shack as a burger place. I don't think of it as a chicken place, but maybe I'm just like small-minded.
I have a hankering for sous vide chicken. I know, Shake Shack. Here's one we wanted to pick up on because it's everyone's favorite, pizza. According to Google News Lab and Google location history data, Detroit is the #1 city in all of the United States of America for eating pizza, followed closely by Boston, Philadelphia, and Cleveland. MSN, which brought us that story, also has some interesting picks for the top 3 pizza places in town.
For sure they did. Number 1 was Belle Isle Pizza, which that is a solid slice. It's a little tiny place over there by the Belle Isle Bridge.
It's like strictly carryout, isn't it?
Yeah. And sometimes those carryout places are the best, though. It's really good. It's a solid slice. Second was a perennial favorite, Buddy's. I mean, for most folks, you can't go wrong with Buddy's. And third was one I haven't been to, and now I feel like I have a duty to check out, Paul's Pizza down in Springwells in Detroit.
Yeah, it was one that none of us were familiar with, frankly.
Today's episode is brought to you in part by Milo Digital. Milo Digital is a full-service digital marketing agency that engineers quality results through data and innovative strategies. Learn more at milodetroit.com. We mentioned this on the show back in September, but a little reminder that the Anna Whitcomb Conservatory on Belle Isle will have limited weekend hours this month. That's because construction is beginning on a $1.9 million renovation to the structure of the building. The new limited hours are Saturdays and Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The work is expected to be complete sometime in April. The steel and glass building with a wide variety of exotic plants was built in 1904. The work is being funded in part with a grant from the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation and the state. There are still $5 million worth of repairs to do on the conservatory, but money for that work hasn't been raised yet.
You know, the Belle Isle Conservatory is a true Detroit gem. I went there, I remember I was there about 10, 15 years ago on a winter day, and one of the docents was telling me about how urgently repairs were needed back then, and that, you know, blowing out one window, glass window, or some kind of failure of the HVAC could conceivably decimate their entire, inventory of tropical desert plants and everything. I mean, that place, that's one of the greatest weekend afternoon in the middle of, frozen winter. One of the best things to do in town, as far as I'm concerned. So we're not sure whether we should apologize for not getting to this one sooner, but the time has clearly come to talk about the Golden Ring of Sterling Heights.
What's that, you ask? Well, it's not Golden Corral. It's the Golden Ring, and it is a new 35-foot diameter sculpture erected last month in the median of Hall Road, better known to some as M59, and that's over by Shaner. We mentioned it on a previous episode. It's meant as part of a larger beautification project, and to remind you that you're in something called the Golden Corridor.
Never heard of that? Well, neither had we until this sculpture was built. It's the name given by the Detroit Regional Chamber to designate the heavily trafficked divided highway. It's more than $1 billion worth of commercial assets. But it hasn't taken long for the parodies to roll in. Most notable is a Facebook page called, and brace yourselves, folks, the Golden Butthole of Macomb County. It's approaching 8,000 likes. Someone also made a meme recently that shows the ring with the very phallic Ypsilanti water tower tipped on its side and poised to,
Detroit News columnist Neil Rubin weighed in last week, noting that Sterling Heights Mayor Michael Taylor defends the $340,000 sculpture as a good investment. He quoted the mayor as saying that the ring demonstrates that, quote, "we're not just another cookie-cutter Macomb County suburb with rows of houses and nothing interesting," unquote. So I'm kind of interested in this one. Random fact, back in the 80s, for a very short time, he is resting in peace now, but my uncle used to be the mayor of Sterling Heights.
And what was his name?
Art Madar.
And very interesting.
So here's the thing. And I go to Sterling Heights. If you don't want to be a cookie cutter suburb, you kind of need development that's not cookie cutter. And I don't mean this to like completely slam Sterling Heights, but it is what it is. I mean, the unique thing about Sterling Heights to me is like all the different ethnic groups that are there.
Yeah.
And then
a lot of restaurants, like, Middle Eastern restaurants.
Great restaurants.
Yeah.
And a great Polish restaurants too. Polish communities out there. The Polish Center is near that border with Troy.
Sure. Pierogies. Yeah.
Pierogies. And, another interesting thing about Sterling Heights, I've always wondered, and I've wanted to do the data on this, is the Virgin Mary statue per capita, because it seems like every other lawn in some parts of Sterling Heights have Virgin Mary statues.
And didn't you tell me way back when that Sterling Heights has some of the region's highest internet usage per capita?
Something like 98%.
Yeah,
like it's really interesting.
Fascinating little factoid right there.
Oh yeah, there's lots of interesting things about Sterling Heights that are not the Golden Butthole.
Yeah, but I was thinking about this because we've been talking about the Golden Butthole since late last week. We were talking about it over the weekend, online and everything here at Daily Detroit, and the online reaction and all the parodies. I mean, it's really kind of a reckoning. I think that people are kind of reckoning with what Sterling Heights really is, and the fact that they put this ring up there and this kind of random branding of what? I mean, it's a 10-lane wide, like, divided highway ringed by big box retail.
It kind of looks like one of those statues you buy in Sim City and just drop in the middle of your city and it does nothing.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting that this gets so much pushback, but you've got that Michigan Labor Legacy Monument in Hart Plaza.
Another ring sculpture,
another ring, but it's not quite a complete ring. There's
Right.
like a little space at the top for a light that never works at the top.
But that at least has like a stronger concept. It's a ring. I mean,
There's gears on the inside, actually. Like it's actually like notched out.
Right. So I feel like there's more thought given to that, and the concept is maybe a little stronger. Golden Corridor. I mean, your average driver speeding past that has no idea what the Golden Corridor is.
Well, maybe that's part of the
And
the
why
point
did
of this, though.
why did they call it the Golden Corridor? I just don't get it.
I feel like we need to talk to somebody about that one. We'll go down that rabbit hole at some point. They talk about, and one of the things up earlier in the segment was, we're not just another Cookie County Macomb suburb, as a quote. Like, then develop it differently. I don't think this statue is what's going to fix the problem. There's so many interesting things in Sterling Heights. And what if you embrace that and created more walkable communities and, maybe embrace trends a little more? You got a lot of people of different income levels in Sterling Heights. It's right near Warren. There's different things you could do to actually make it more like a city. And you've got so many interesting ethnic pieces to pull together that could be really, really fun.
Yeah, but if this is supposed to be some kind of like placemaking thing, to borrow the kind of, term favored by urban planners and stuff, you've got more work to do, I think.
Oh, I agree. But I will add this. My dad was an artist, and he always taught me that art is supposed to make you feel something. So I gotta play a little devil's advocate and say that, whether it's positive or negative, a lot of people have feelings about this one. So from an art perspective, maybe it's done its job. Okay, everybody, before we go, I've just got a little ask. So here's the deal. We get some ads, and that is awesome. We appreciate it. And if you want to become a sponsor, you own a business, an organization, hit us up, dailydetroit@gmail.com. But there's something that I think Sven and I and the entire team believe in. It's part of why we're here. We believe strongly that, funding from the community is part of what keeps an independent media outlet going. It means that we don't have to look over our shoulder all the time. We can always invest in growth and doing more things instead of having to chase advertisers. We never compromise our content, and we never compromise what we're doing for any advertiser. But we want to invest in more in-depth reporting. You think about what we did with the Packard plant and broke that story. You think about what we've done with Hard Rock. We were actually the people who did the rundown to find out that Hard Rock was closing even before some of the employees knew it was closing.
Yep.
And that kind of work, that takes resources. So here's the deal. We have a monthly membership program. It's through Patreon. It's patreon.com/dailydetroit. And it'll help make sure everything goes smoothly. We're working hard over here. We love doing this stuff. We don't do this to get rich by any means. We do this out of the love of our city, our region, and of course you all. And so if you would please consider going by, we've got some neat rewards. And then we're going to be doing a bunch of updates just for Patreon members. We're going to have some fun with it because this is the way that we think at the end of the day, independent media is going to end up getting funded. It's going to be through you and through everyone. So any amount helps. Think about it. If not, totally understand. You just want to, send us a winter hat. I could use a winter hat. That's a joke from last week in case you didn't catch it. And thank you for thinking about it.
Yeah, and if not, we'll just have to resort to the pledge drive, right?
Oh, how do you pledge drive a podcast? We can't interrupt our own. It's like time shifted. People would just skip over every episode.
Yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for your Daily Detroit today. I'm Sven Gustafson.
And I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.